Would you like to create original illustrations for your art journal, junk journal, or collage focal points? Perhaps you lack the courage to put pen to paper and just draw something, or maybe you were never encouraged to draw as a child. I certainly wasn't, and yet I've managed to create lots of lovely illustrations for my journal using this simple technique which I'll share with you in this video. Hello everyone, I'm Helena Bird, and today we're going to be creating some simple illustrations for our junk journals, art journals, and collage focal points using just marker pens and a black outliner. Now, if you're looking for a video that's going to show you how to create fine art that's going to be hung on a gallery wall someday, I'm afraid this is not the tutorial for you. This is about creating simple illustrations that reflect our experience and our life by breaking down the simple shapes we see around us and the colour palette that goes with it. I first saw this technique used in a Domestika online course, which I will share the link to below. Essentially, it involves getting a marker pen and simply creating the shape of an object on the page. I'm doing this from memory. It would probably be even better if you had a photograph with you. Because you're creating in marker pen, you can just keep working on the shape until it looks right. As many of you know, I was widowed a couple of years ago, and last year I started a new romance with a fellow widow, and together we've managed to create some beautiful memories together. After losing my husband so young, I understand better than anyone the importance of capturing memories. Last weekend we went to the seaside and we had an ice cream cone. Here's my ice cream cone. It is a very, very simple, rudimentary shape. And all I've done is go round that shape with a black pen to add in some sketchy detail. When I go around them with the black pen, I am trying to be as kind of rickety as possible with the lines. I'm trying to make it not that accurate. I want it to have a kind of stylized scrappiness to it, because ultimately it's a rough and ready illustration to illustrate a passing moment in my life. I've used two simple colours in this illustration, and this is what we call a 99. I think it's because it used to cost 99 pence. It does not cost 99 pence anymore. I think I paid like £3 for our ice cream. If you're thinking that it's just small objects that you can do this with, or inanimate objects, allow me to demonstrate that you can draw anything using this technique. Sketching out a simple rudimentary shape with a marker pen and then going around it with black sketchy marks. This is going to be a flamingo, because we have a nature reserve near us that has these amazing flamingos in it, and we went to see them very recently. I want to capture that memory, so I'm going to create a rudimentary flamingo, just remembering to the best of my knowledge the shapes of the flamingo's head, neck, body and wings, not to mention their very distinctive beak and long legs. I've said it before in some of my previous videos about my illustrated journals, but I do think it's really important to try and free yourself from this expectation that you're going to create some amazing masterpiece just because you get your crayons or pens out. It's perfectly fine to draw as you would if you were still a child, just to capture that memory. And there's my little flamingo, and when I cut him out, he's going to look beautiful. If any of these drawings look too rudimentary to you, I'm going to show you how they can be easily transformed at the end of this video, and that even by doing the simplest things to them on a papercraft level, you can make them look a little bit special before you add them into your journal or add them into your collage. Here's me illustrating that it can also work for architecture, and I do a couple of architecture illustrations in this video. This is going to be a lighthouse, and I am just blocking in the colours of my local lighthouse. I mean, one of my local lighthouses. There are a lot of lighthouses around here because I live by the coast in England. And it is one of my favourite structures. It is something I look out to see every single day. So I draw it a lot. And finding new, interesting or easy ways to draw it always appeals to me. So far we've covered food, animals and architecture. and created some very sweet little illustrations simply using marker pen and an outliner pen. Do pay attention to how scrappy I'm making those black lines. I'm going over and over them. I'm not trying to make them perfect. I am actually trying to make them as imperfect as possible. I want them to have this scrappy look because I'm trying to dodge that aim of perfectionism. I'm deliberately trying to create something that is very human. This is far from a computer-generated image. This is my own original work by my own hand. And I'm capturing something very special here, the place where I live. And as I'm doing that, I'm thinking about all the memories I've built here, all the things that have happened to me while I've lived by the sea, all the amazing walks I've been on with my dog. I do recommend thinking about things like this whilst you're illustrating, rather than how each mark has to be perfect or how all the proportions have to be in line. Think instead about what it means to you. Think about the soul of the piece, the spirit of it. Have you captured it? Sometimes you will see me go in with some extra marker pen where I feel like my outline hasn't quite met with the marker or the colour. It's not necessary to do this. Sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. It depends on whether or not I feel it's currently representing what I want it to represent, expressing what I want it to express. So there's no hard and fast rules. Okay, let's go on to flowers or plants. Again, you can very easily create the shape of a flower. In this case, I'm going for a daisy because there are lots of daisies growing near my house at this time of year. And technically their petals are white, but I need it to show up on a white page, so I actually have gone for a slightly grey colour. And since this is my imaginative, original piece of artwork, I can change the colours however I wish. If I had wanted to create a blue daisy, I could have done that. I can always switch up the way I choose to express and represent my world. It's particularly satisfying to use this technique for organic shapes because things like flowers and plants will often obsess with getting them perfect when we draw them, and yet if you look at them in reality, they're often far from perfect. They do not have equal-sized petals and equal-sized leaves. They have abnormalities and they have differences about them from plant to plant, and yet we try and create them in a uniform fashion when we create our art. So I think it's really good to embrace the imperfection of your piece. Remember that the original flower will also have its imperfections. Maybe it's lost some petals to the wind. Maybe a little creature has taken a few bites out of one of the petals or out of the stem. It might have holes in it as a result. Living things that stand out in nature always have signs of wear and tear on them, always have signs that they live in the elements. And I think it's cool to reflect that in the way we create our art. If you really want to go to town with this technique, and I have mentioned this in previous videos, it is worth thinking about using your non-dominant hand and allowing yourself to be completely imperfect and have a lot less control over what your pen does. It's amazing the kind of effect you can get by using your non-dominant hand. You'll create something you otherwise could never have done. So for me, that would be my left hand. I haven't done it in this video because I'm giving you a demonstration, but I'll be happy to do another video where I use my non-dominant hand and you can see the differences between the two. After doing my daisy, I want to go in and do a rose because I have rose bushes in my front garden. Actually, none of my rose bushes are pink, but I just felt like creating a pink rose. In my garden, I actually have yellow, orange and white roses, but for some reason, I was really feeling the pink pen in that moment, and I know what roses mean to me. So it's all fine that I haven't completely reflected the colour palette, and it's all fine that it's a very scrappy, hastily drawn rose, where I'm trying to get an impression of something and capture the soul of it rather than capture every minute detail. Here I come with the black marker and I'm actually following little lines that the marker has made within the colour when I've been scribbling away. And that is how I chose where to put those black lines. And I go in afterwards and add a few more. And I think it looks like a pretty decent rose at the end of the process. I think that if somebody looked at it, they'd think, I think that's a rose. They'd probably guess that it was a rose. That's all I'm really asking for here. My art is very personal to me, and I'm creating it for me and to reflect the experience I have in the world. So I don't mind that my work is not perfect. I just mind that it is creative and that it reflects who I am and the experience that I have. With this particular rose, I decided to go in and put some extra detail in a different colour. This is totally unnecessary. I just felt like it. So I did some dots with the pink pen, and then I decided I was going to go around those also with the black marker. Once you start to build confidence with this, you can start adding in other colours, other shades. You can go light, you can dark, you start shading if you want, or you can just keep it quite rudimentary. The point is, once you've built your confidence with it, you have choices. The last drawing I'm going to do is another piece of architecture. It is a bridge that stands close to where I live, about 30 miles away. It is in the hometown where my parents were born. It is a bridge that means a lot to us as a family. And it is a blue bridge that is largely comprised of triangular shapes. So I am remembering what that bridge looks like and blocking out with the marker pen the different shapes of that bridge. I'm not going into fine detail. It's just about remembering the key shapes. If I want to go in with fine detail later, I can do that with my black pen. The marker pen is just for the big blocky shapes. Sometimes when I'm doing these pieces, I decide to put in a bit of extra landscaping or background, usually only one or two elements. So you saw with the lighthouse that I added in the sea. And with this bridge, I do actually choose to go in with a green pen and add like a river. I know rivers aren't necessarily green, but often around here, the water can look it. And this is about my impression as an artist. When I look at the world around me, what do I see? Does the river look more green than blue? In which case, I'm going to use a green pen. That's my impression. That's what I'm going to draw. As a finishing touch, I go in to the shape and add some triangular shapes to reflect the triangular shapes in the actual bridge. It's not wildly accurate, but it gives me a sense, a remembrance of what that bridge looks like, of the shapes that make it what it is. Sometimes I feel the need to go around the outline again and make things a bit scrappier here and there. Not a bad drawing of the bridge that lives near my house. So architecture, flowers, animals, and food. There really isn't any category that this won't work for. To give you a little sense of what you can do with these images, and I really do mean a little sense because this is supposed to be a quick and easy tutorial for you to follow, I'm going to cut around this daisy and I'm going to glue it to some book page. I'm going to ink around that book page and you'll see how even doing something as simple as that makes the image pop in a way that perhaps it doesn't when it's just sitting on a blank piece of paper. That's what I meant earlier when I said if these look rudimentary, then be aware that they're not going to stay on these blank pieces of paper unless you choose it. They can be cut out and used in any way you choose in your journals or collages. Even when it is cut out, I think this looks like a completely different piece of ephemera to how it looked when it was sitting on a blank piece of paper. Putting the book page behind it creates an even more kind of vintage effect, a more stylized effect. And of course I could put it on scrapbook paper. I could put it on pattern paper, coloured paper. I could put it on the front of a collage that I'd made. I could do whatever I want with this. Once I've drawn it, it's mine, it's original, it's unique. There are endless possibilities for things like this in our journals, and it really doesn't take too long at all to draw them. Mere minutes. Do you see the potential of something like this as I do? Has this tutorial opened your eyes to how all you need to do is create some shapes in marker and go around with your outliner, and that's it? You can call it an illustration? I do hope so, because it need not be any more complicated than that. I really hope this video has provided you with all of the inspiration and courage you need to put marker pen to paper and outliner pen to paper and just get drawing and record your life. Thanks so much for watching this video. There'll be another video along soon. Until then, take care and I'll see you next time.